Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here in the set to use Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now, the reason why I'm going to be covering both for this guide is because of Z moves. Z-Hypnosis is one of the craziest moves in all of Pokemon. I've talked about it quite a lot in the past, but I think it's something that if we're having like just a big Gardevoir guide for the 7th generation, it does need to be talked about, because with most Mega Pokemon, they need the Mega Evolution to become viable. Also, the buffs to the speed in Mega Evolution, it's also pretty substantial, but Gardevoir with Z-Hypnosis, the way I consider it is that you have a 60% chance to win the game. Hypnosis has 60% accuracy, and by using Z-Hypnosis, you get a free +1 to your speed, and then we have a beneficial speed nature at 80 base speed. You get fast, and if that hypnosis lands, you're getting free setup. So 60% chance to put the opponent to sleep, that you can Calm Mind once or twice, depends on the situation, and then you just win. Now you have a Pokemon that's using Choice Scarf speed with Choice Specs damage, but can switch between the moves that it needs to use. Also, it has both special attacking and physical damage behind it, with pretty solid amounts of base power on that Moonblast. Also, the Psyshock can be replaced with other moves like the Shadow Ball if you just want the consistent damage. Psyshock is great on the stab as well, so it just gets really nasty when you have Gardevoir set up like this. And think about it, just go up against a slower Pokemon as well. If they have a tank, you can Hypnosis, get 2 Calm Minds, blow up the tank, and then anything that comes in now has to deal with a +2 Gardevoir. If you're setting up against a sweeping Pokemon, it's okay. Get outsped, survive the hit, because Gardevoir has good amounts of natural bulk, as long as it's not against a physical Pokemon using like super effective hits or absurd amounts of damage. Gardevoir can survive, and now you're fast, you're untouchable, doesn't matter, and then you're putting out huge amounts of damage. So it's going to be a toss-up. Remember, you only get one Mega Evolution inside of any given battle, and I feel that since you get one Mega, one Z move, you can use the Z move on the Gardevoir and then put your Mega somewhere else. But this is what everyone's been waiting for. I just got finished looking at the comments for the Mega Gallade guide, and people said they are looking forward to the Gardevoir more. I'm personally on that Lopunny train, but let's see what we can get with the Gardevoir, and it's mostly because of the Pixelate ability. Pixelate is going to give us a higher damage Fairy-type move on 100 base speed, and it can work in doubles. Gardevoir in doubles is also just a whole nother thing to talk about, so we're going to break it down and just kind of expand upon it right now. Gardevoir, 100 base speed. Unfortunately not the best, but when you put it next to a 165 special attacking Pokemon that gets 20% more damage on top of a Hyper Voice, which is already good amounts of base power, and then Stab, it's a lot of damage. You have to start counting on your fingers like, oh man, that's multiplying pretty crazily right there, and Hyper Voice is going to start putting in the pain. On top of that, we do have our Psyshock, so our Stab comes in once again, and then we can just go all out attacking. The problem with this Gardevoir is that you are restricted to only 2 moves afterwards, but with this, just go full out attack, and if it is a Pokemon that is slower than you, you're going to find the coverage, you're going to make it hurt, and it's just going to be pretty disgusting overall. Hidden Power Ice, Hidden Power Fire, whatever you need for the Gardevoir, and then you can coverage out pretty well. Now, this is not a moveset for the Gardevoir, but it is some other options. That Mega Gardevoir with Calm Mind, I mean, we gain more in our special defense. If we can get a Calm Mind on top of that in front of a special attacking Pokemon, +1 Timid Nature, 165 special attack, damage gets absolutely ridiculous no matter what we're using. So pretty much you get rid of the Hidden Power, you get rid of the Shadow Ball, then you start plugging in other moves. Destiny Bond is a very surprising move, can catch the opponent off guard, something to take into consideration. Will-O-Wisp makes up for your low amount of defense. We talked about this with the Gallade, but it's effectively the same idea. That alright, we have low hit points, like that's I think the biggest buff. Game Freak wants to buff the Gardevoir Gallade duo, just give it +20 to the hit points, and then we have some really devastating Pokemon that will start rising up, and now it's going to be like, alright, Will-O-Wisp, that gets pretty crazy right there. We also have access to the Hypnosis. You can keep that on the Mega Gardevoir. We now have a 100 base speed Pokemon slapping around a Hypnosis. If that lands on a slower Pokemon, it gets really bad really quick. I just like the idea behind that Z-Hypnosis. It does a lot of crazy stuff right there, and that's really the breakdown. As for doubles, I've seen Psych Up Mega Gardevoir. You give Mega Stats to a Pokemon using Psych Up, things get really scary, and that's kind of it. So yeah, you can kind of have the same idea. Gallade and Gardevoir they play relatively similar in their mega forms, that we can go with an all-out attacker, high amounts of base power, go for the raw damage, or get a little bit more technical with it as we build up into some of that craziness, and it even gets the pain split. Gardevoir with Pain Split. It will be a slower, more conserved Gardevoir, but there are the people out there that are crazy enough to run the modest nature, high amounts of hit point investment on both the Mega and non-Mega forms of the Gardevoir, and we can see that through the Pokemon Global Link. So right here, we can see that when victorious, going up against Blaziken, Garchomp, Tapu Lele, Salamence. So a lot of Dragon-type Pokemon, certain Dark-type Pokemon as well, and then just other odd matchups. You know, you hit Tapu Lele super effective with a Shadow Ball. That's going to be pretty bad for the Tapu Lele. Gengar's vulnerable to a Psyshock if you're using a Choice Scarf or if you're already faster. That's where the Z-Hypnosis comes in. Use it on slower Pokemon. Now you outspeed everything after that. Then just consistent amounts of damage against other common Pokemon on the format. In battle, you can see Moonblast, Destiny Bond, Psychic, Psyshock, all kinds of fun stuff like that. Then the held item is going to vary as well. Now, this is not updated for the Mega Gardevoir. I'm kind of giving you ideas for what non-Mega Gardevoir does, and also the transition into Mega. Sometimes we just see non-Mega with Trick Room, and then we have a supporter that uses Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, Destiny Bond, and all kinds of really mean stuff under that. Thunder Wave, don't want to do that in a Trick Room, but Thunder Wave supportive Gardevoir does work out pretty well. Double battles will change up a couple of things, and yeah, just kind of showing you guys the damage is all over the place, and it does get pretty crazy. Now let's go over to the damage calculations, because it really doesn't matter if you're not killing anything, right? So this is going to be points towards the non-Mega Gardevoir with the Z-Hypnosis, that at +1 on special attack. So say we get a successful Hypnosis, say we get a successful +1, well now we're going to be able to outspeed Pokemon like the Tapu Koko, and then we get to one-shot it on the Moonblast. So that's kind of it. We can even survive a hit. So Tapu Koko matches up against us. Thunderbolt, not enough damage to KO. Wheezy Hypnosis. If it goes to sleep, we're now faster. Calm Mind, Moonblast, KO. And then we can just run away with the battle just like that. Oh yeah, also it gets access to the Trick. So Trick Choice Scarf for the non-Mega Gardevoir is something that you can do as well. But we're just talking about these Z moves mostly right here. Now, as for the Mega Gardevoir, it's a Pokemon that has less damage and less speed, and it uses up your Mega slot. Now, this is the trade for using up your Z move, but just kind of showing you guys that even in singles, the Hyper Voice, not a guaranteed KO against Tapu Koko, still is fairly likely, and still shows you the idea behind the damage, that any Pokemon, your average sweeping Pokemon, around 70s in the hit point special defense, Gardevoir just walks up, boom, KO, just like that. That's all that it takes. So something to consider right there. This is why I feel that a lot of people are overhyping the Mega Gardevoir, that if you could use as many Megas as you want, Pokemon be a crazy battle, and yeah, then there's a case for the Mega Gardevoir, but I just feel that the Z Crystal, the Z Hypnosis, is way too crazy. Even if Hypnosis misses, depending on the Pokemon you're matching up against, you can still either have that speed and then coverage out, or still find a chance to Calm Mind against a slower special attacking Pokemon, and things could just work out from there. So it is going to be more tricky to set up the Mega Gardevoir, but then in doubles, Mega Gardevoir has the clear advantage, because even though in doubles the damage gets split, no Pokemon wants to be two-shot by split damage moves. So a Pokemon that's bulkier than Tapu Koko, let's go and bring out the Silvally. Silvally, kind of that representation, and also it's a Fairy-type move. So Dragon-type Pokemon, they can get double-picked by the Hyper Voice, and that's bad. So I'm not trying to be super pessimistic about the Gardevoir. I'm just showing you guys the realistic give and take behind this. And then, yeah, we have 99.6 chance to a KO. So just even some of the most bulky Pokemon taking neutral moves, you're outspeeding them on the Gardevoir, and then you're just back-to-back Hyper Voice. If you have a Fake Out Pokemon, Gardevoir gets even more free stuff out of that. Tailwind. Mega Gardevoir with Tailwind is perfection, because Gardevoir comes in, Hyper Voice, and then you get your Tailwind, and then it outspeeds everything, and then it Hyper Voices, and then it gets even more damage, and then you still have 2 Pokemon left against their weakened 2 Pokemon. So ideally, Gardevoir does get to do a lot of really wild things. Forgot to mention the Thunderbolt if you are doing a more doubles-oriented Gardevoir, because then we're looking at Pokemon like the Tapu Fini, that you're hitting super effective Pokemon, like the Celesteela that are getting hit super effective. So depending on like your damage splits, the other Pokemon providing damage support as well, like you just bring in a Scarf Pokemon that's also hitting both opponents, Gardevoir comes in, clean up damage, it's going to be hard for the opponent to survive much of anything with that. So yeah, it does provide a little bit of bulk. And Intimidate Pokemon next to Gardevoir is also going to be amazing to patch up that low defense. And then Gardevoir just becomes bulky, Pokemon that can heal it as well. So there's a lot of things that can contribute to Mega Gardevoir's success. And I don't really know what else there is to say. It's just damage calculations, kind of looking into the shenanigans that the Gardevoir finds itself in. You have a lot of crazy stuff at your disposal. That Psych Up into the stored power is a devastating combo. Mega Gardevoir being the receiver of a Baton Pass chain. That if you have any amounts of stats and special attack or speed for the Gardevoir, it wants to receive that. Draining Kiss does turn into a little bit of sustain. So you could also... It's hard because Draining Kiss is low base power but does have high amounts of healing. So if you are finding super effective hits, if you aren't being overwhelmingly threatened, you can run Hyper Voice, Draining Kiss, Thunderbolt, Psy Shock, something like that. I think that is going to be the biggest issue with the Gardevoir, that it does have a lot of really crazy moveset options that it can run, so mostly you're building it with your team. That if your team needs a little bit of extra coverage that Gardevoir can cover in for, that's going to work best for the Gardevoir, and then, yeah, hopefully it doesn't restrict you too much. It does also get a lot of cheeky things, the Confuse Ray, the Disable. Unfortunately, Confuse Ray nerf makes life kind of suck, Disable, Encore, so it can add some things to its kit. You might be a little overwhelmed by Move Slot Syndrome. I don't think you need to worry about the Icy Wind because Moonblast is already a massive Dragon Killer, or the Hyper Voice, already a massive Dragon Killer right there, and that's kind of it. I think it's a little slow. I still like the Z-Hypnosis because, yeah, you are a little limited, but once you have that speed, you start sweeping in singles. Mega Gardevoir does have a better case in doubles, next to Intimidate, next to Will-O-Wisp support, next to something that can really support it, and then the damage just starts adding up and things get pretty crazy. Also, I mean, it's just the ultimate waifu. I think that might be why people are mostly hype about the Mega Gardevoir. It's opened up its heart for you, and then a lot of people just have that fan service that they really enjoy. Personally, I'm on that Mega Lopunny fan service hype, so we'll see where all that goes. And yeah, I think it was one of the best batches of Mega Stones. Tell me what you guys think down below. It's just so cool. The Z-Hypnosis, I think it's so cool. There's other Mega Pokemon that you can use, so gotta keep that in mind. Try not to be too negative, like I said. Are some really cool things Mega Gardevoir does, but I've never been, like, super won over by it in the past, even though I have been dominated, and it does get some sweeps from time to time. So, guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.